7 years ago, a lie shattered my life. Accused of betraying my family and friends, I was left with nothing but shame and betrayal. But when the truth finally emerged, it tore through the lies like a wrecking ball, exposing the real villain. Revenge? No. This was about justice. For me, for Zoey, for everyone who'd ever been wronged. The truth always wins. 7 years ago, my entire world collapsed over a lie I didn't even know was being told. I was 23 then, just out of university, living with my parents in Toronto, while trying to get on my feet. I wasn't rich, I didn't have much saved, and I thought staying at home while building my career was the smartest choice. That dream ended in a single day because of my brother Liam. Liam was 35, successful, married to a woman named Claudia for almost 4 years. He was the golden child. He always had the car, the admiration, and more importantly, the benefit of the doubt. I was the kid who should try harder. One night, Claudia came storming into our house in tears, clutching her phone like it had burned her hand. She told my family she was divorcing Liam because he'd been having an affair with my best friend, Zoey. I was stunned. Zoey was like a sister to me and had only met Liam briefly when she needed help with a startup idea, and Liam, a venture consultant, offered her some guidance. I vouched for Zoey. I told them it didn't make sense, but Claudia was convincing and loud and had just enough fake evidence, a few misinterpreted texts, and a blurry photo to make it sound true. Suddenly, I was the villain, the traitor, the guy who brought the mistress into the house. By the end of the week, my bags were on the curb. My mother sobbed, but didn't stop my father from locking the door behind me. My brother? He never said a word. He'd already moved out. I slept on couches. Eventually, I found a dingy one-bedroom across town. No furniture, no savings, but I had resolve. Zoey swore she'd done nothing wrong, and I believed her. Still, I couldn't prove it. Liam cut all contact. Claudia changed her number. And my parents? They'd already chosen a side. I spent the next 7 years rebuilding my life, piece by piece. I moved to Montreal, started my own company, and just last month, got engaged to the love of my life, Rachel. It was Rachel's engagement post on LinkedIn that changed everything. Unknowingly, she had an old contact on her list, an anonymous profile named R. Blackwood. That was Liam. He'd used an alias since his consulting firm had gone under. And after seeing the post, he reached out, not publicly, but through a burner email with the subject line, "I owe you the truth." Inside was everything. Turns out, Claudia had been the one cheating, with my old friend, Jacob, a bartender I barely remembered introducing her to during a family brunch. Liam had discovered the affair when he hired a private investigator after noticing strange charges on their shared card. Hotel rooms, dinners, gifts. When he confronted her, she didn't just lie. She weaponized the truth. She spun a story that flipped everything on its head, claimed Liam was cheating, claimed it was Zoey, claimed I introduced them deliberately to help cover it up. It was all a smokescreen. She needed to protect her image with my family and make Liam the villain. And I was just collateral damage. The email included screenshots, hundreds of messages between her and Jacob, receipts, even audio recordings from therapy sessions Liam had saved. It was undeniable. Liam had stayed silent all these years out of shame. He let everyone believe the worst of him and me. But seeing me with Rachel, living a happy life after being thrown to the wolves, he couldn't keep it in anymore. We met in Ottawa a week later. Talked for 6 hours straight. He apologized, genuinely. Said he was ready to help me fix what Claudia broke. I accepted. Not for revenge, for justice. 2 days ago, Liam and I drove to my parents' house. No warning. My dad opened the door. He froze when he saw us. My mother nearly dropped her coffee. And Claudia, still living there, comfortably, jobless, ran out of the room when we walked in. I laid it all out. Liam backed every word. We showed the emails, the photos, the voice memos, everything. It was like watching a dam break. My mother started shaking. My father turned beet red and started yelling, not at us, but at Claudia, who now stood in the doorway, white as paper. When she tried to deny it, my dad screamed, told her to get out, told her she'd humiliated their family. And then he turned to me and cried. Told me he was sorry, that he was ashamed of how they treated me. Claudia tried to play the victim, but it didn't work anymore. She was packed and gone within the hour. I didn't stick around to watch her leave. I'd done my part. Yesterday, she showed up at my apartment, crying. Told me she was broke, alone, destroyed. Said I'd ruined her life. I told her, no, you ruined mine first. I just brought the truth. And then I closed the door. Some people say revenge isn't sweet, but truth is sweeter than anything. I walked back into my apartment and leaned against the door, heart pounding, not from nerves, but from relief. After 7 years of silence, exile, and rebuilding, I finally closed something. Not a chapter, a whole book. But what I didn't know was, this wasn't the end. The next morning, I woke up to a dozen missed calls and a barrage of texts. Not from Claudia, from Zoey. Have you seen this? Turn on the news. Claudia's gone nuclear. I flicked on the TV, and there it was. Claudia, sitting on a morning show couch, doing what she did best, performing. Tears in her eyes, voice trembling, claiming she was a victim of emotional abuse, smeared by her ex-husband and his vengeful little brother. She even name-dropped me, said I'd always been obsessed with ruining her marriage, and now, after all these years, I'd finally succeeded. She called it a campaign of harassment, said she had new evidence, and the kicker? She was filing a defamation lawsuit against both Liam and me. I laughed, loud, not because it was funny, but because it was predictable. This wasn't about justice for her. This was survival. Claudia didn't know how to lose, not quietly. But what she didn't realize was I'd prepared for this. Liam had too. We'd already given everything, to a lawyer. Not just to protect ourselves, but to go on the offense. And that's when I decided I wouldn't just defend my name, I'd clear it. We filed a countersuit within 48 hours. Libel, slander, false allegations, the works. We subpoenaed Jacob, the bartender turned invisible man, who, as it turned out, had a whole folder of messages from Claudia begging him to take the fall if it came to this. He refused. Not out of nobility, but because his new girlfriend worked at a law firm, and she warned him not to go down with a sinking ship. We gave everything to the press, not tabloids, real journalists, ones who vetted every file, every quote, every recording. And when the story finally ran, it was titled, "The Lie That Cost a Family 7 Years, a Cautionary Tale." It went viral, not because of the scandal, but because people saw themselves in it. People who'd been scapegoated, disowned, discarded because someone else was better at lying than they were at defending the truth. Emails poured in, messages from strangers, friends who hadn't spoken to me in years, even professors from my university. I wasn't the villain anymore. I was proof. Claudia, she disappeared. Word was, she fled to the States under a different name. The lawsuit crumbled after Jacob's testimony. My parents tried to reach her, to understand why she did it, but I don't think they ever got answers. Just silence. Liam and I, we're rebuilding, slowly. Not just our relationship, but everything it could have been if he'd spoken up sooner. He regrets it, deeply. And that regret shows in the way he shows up now, every time. Rachel and I got married last month. Small ceremony in Montreal. Zoey was my best man. Liam gave a speech. My parents were there, both of them crying harder than we expected. Not from guilt, from gratitude. For the second chance, for the truth, for the strange, brutal, beautiful way life brings justice, if you wait long enough and fight hard enough for it. And me? I've learned that sometimes the worst betrayals come from those closest to you, but so do the most powerful redemptions. And the truth? The truth doesn't just set you free. It shatters cages and buries the locks forever. In the months that followed our wedding, life settled into a rhythm I'd never dared to imagine back in those dark days of exile. Every morning, I'd wake up beside Rachel and look out at Montreal's skyline, her hand in mine, and marvel that I was exactly where I belonged. It felt almost unreal. The boy who'd once been chased onto the sidewalk now owned a small consultancy firm downtown, helping other young entrepreneurs get their start. Zoey, ever my rock, joined me as a partner. We launched a mentorship program called Clear Signal, dedicated to guiding founders through the minefield of investor due diligence, and, just as importantly, teaching them to safeguard their reputations. Our first cohort was a mix of idealists and pragmatists. Their gratitude reminded me how essential it is to have someone in your corner when every text, tweet, or rumor could be weaponized against you. Liam found his calling, too. He'd returned to consulting under his real name, but this time with a focus on corporate ethics. He traveled the continent, speaking at conferences about the catastrophic fallout of unchecked deception. Audiences leaned in as he laid out the story I'd once known as my personal tragedy, but which had, by then, become a universal cautionary tale. In those lecture halls, I saw faces lit with recognition. People who'd been burned by slander, left defenseless by the very networks meant to support them. My parents blossomed in ways I never expected. My father volunteered with local shelters, using his legal expertise to help refugees defend against false accusations. My mother, having rediscovered her voice, began hosting a weekly radio show, Voices Restored, where guests shared stories of vindication and healing. When she invited me on air to recount my own journey, her introduction brought an audience of thousands to tears and gave hope to countless listeners who were still living under the shadow of someone else's lies. Sometimes, on quiet evenings, Rachel and I sit on our balcony, the city lights twinkling below, and marvel at how far we've come. We sip tea, talk about the future, children, of course, but also new projects, like a nonprofit that provides emergency legal support to victims of defamation. And when I close my eyes, I remember that terrified 23-year-old on a stranger's couch, wondering if the world still had a place for him. Because it does. Not just for me, but for anyone who's ever been pushed to the brink by betrayal. The truth may bend, get buried, or even detonate everything you thought was safe. But when it finally emerges, unmasked and undeniable, it doesn't just set one person free. It lights a beacon for all the others lost in darkness, proving that no lie can stand forever against relentless honesty, and that with enough time and courage, a shattered life can be forged anew. So here's what I'll leave you with. Whether you're standing in the ashes of someone else's betrayal or still clinging to the edge, wondering if anyone will ever believe your side of the story, don't stop. Don't shrink. Don't let the lie define you. People will turn their backs. Doors will slam. You might spend nights staring at a ceiling you don't recognize, wondering what you did to deserve it. But hear me. The truth is not fragile. It waits. And when it finally breaks through, it does so with the power to heal, to rebuild, to transform. You are not what they called you in anger. You are not the silence they left you in. You are not the villain in their convenient story. You are the proof that light survives darkness, that integrity outlasts manipulation, that character is forged, not inherited. So keep going. Build your life brick by brick, even if your hands shake. Trust your truth, even when no one else does. And one day, when the dust finally clears and the liars are gone and the doubters are quiet, you'll be standing tall, not just with justice in your hands, but with dignity in your soul. Because they tried to bury you in silence, but you came back with the truth, and the truth always wins. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. It really motivates me to keep going and create more stories like this for you.